It's Nolan. What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Pen Game Elite Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Herbo. He's actually accusing his ex-manager of stealing over $40 million from him throughout the time that they worked together. I do believe that they worked together for the greater part of about 10 years. Just last month, Herbo came out and made this accusation on Instagram on live. He said he doesn't like to bring his personal or industry business online, but things got so crazy that he needed to go ahead and let the fans know what was going on with him. Now, Herbo is currently in between being sentenced to prison for scamming people out in Chicago. So I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like he probably deserves this. This is his karma. However, just from a music business side, just looking at things from an artist standpoint, we're just going to identify what his accusations are and look at them independently of whatever he had going on in his personal life, okay? So in an article on rollingout.com, they say Chicago-born rapper Herbo is learning firsthand that the adage "More Money, More Problems" is more than just a Biggie song. According to recently obtained documents by All Hip Hop, Herbo, born Herbert Wright, is in the middle of suing his ex-manager Joseph J.B. Budden and his company Machine Entertainment for $40 million, claiming he was financially manipulated and taken advantage of with unfair and one-sided deals after signing as a minor. So keep all of this in mind. Herbo, I believe, was signed at 15 or 16 years old, right? So we have to always keep that at top of mind. I know we see the adult that he is today. We see his girl. We see his ex on social media. We see a lot of things that go on around Herbo circulating, but keep in mind, he was a minor when he signed his record deal. The Cry No More rapper says he has been in debt with the label from the start and allegedly owes them $8.4 million, and he doesn't understand how or why he would be in debt with the company. He says, over the years when we started generating money, probably this was on the Sony system, he pulled me to the side like, bro, let me run your business for you. I wasn't really business savvy. This was somebody I trusted with my life, like my brother, like a father figure. I'm going to handle your business for you, bro. That's what he said to him. He says, all right, so from then on, he's running my business. An attorney for Herbo further explained how he was manipulated and controlled by lack of access to his own funds, right? So let's keep it going. I reported on the original accusations, but there's a little bit more information now. The lawyer states, because Wright's money was controlled by Budden and Machine Entertainment, Herbo was forced to ask Budden to make purchases on his own behalf, including for vehicles, rent, his mother's rent, right? So anytime he had to pay his own expenses, he had to ask his manager for permission to gain access to his own finances. Budden's conduct in depriving Herbo of his own funds was designed to prevent him from leaving Machine or from being able to successfully work with another business manager who would actually look out for his best interests. All right. Hopefully y'all understand what I just said, but I'm going to try to simplify it even further. Basically, once this manager, Mr. JB, assumed control of Herbo's accounts, right, it isolated him from his own hard-earned money. So it could have been millions of dollars in the account. He has the app on his phone, but he couldn't make any transactions without first running it by his manager. So he had money, but he couldn't actually use it the way he wanted to, because there was a buffer system in place. And who knows what type of argument or issue they might have if he starts spending money outside of that actual agreement. This also makes a lot of sense as to why Herbo may have been out here scamming. I came down a little bit hard on him when I talked about the scam situation on another video. But now if you take this into account that he didn't have access to his own funds, right? Then you would see why he's trying to make money outside of music and doing little jugs with his friends, trying to figure out how to come up, right? How to spend money on vehicles, how to spend money on private jets that he wanted to take, spending money on hotels. I thought the hotels were something that he was trying to get access to for his own pleasure, but maybe he needed to pay for his own hotels when traveling. I'm not saying that Herbo scamming was right or that him using illegal cards is cool or okay. It just adds a little bit more context to the situation. Now back to this $8.4 million that Herbo allegedly owes Machine Music and JB, right? Herbo vehemently disputes that figure, pointing to the years of financial mismanagement and the lack of transparency in accounting. But the story takes a darker turn with the introduction of the release agreement, which was signed on August 25th of 2023. This agreement was meant to nullify previous contracts and return G Herbo's copyrights and other rights to him. However, shortly after its signing, Budden and his company began to spread allegations that the agreement was signed under duress, right? I covered this also before. So once they signed his release papers for him to be free, get all his copyrights and ownership to his music back, they said that he was basically threatening them or putting some sort of pressure on them that forced them to sign the papers, which nullifies an agreement. You can't use any paperwork in court if they say that you've been pressured. G Herbo has refuted these allegations, labeling them as attempts to extort him into repudiating the release agreement, right? Budden falsely claimed to representatives of G Herbo that he purportedly was threatened with guns and other violence into signing the release agreement, and he purportedly was prevented physically from leaving the recording studio until he signed on the release agreement. These claims are outright lies, as the lawyer says. There were no guns brandished at the studio meeting, nor were there any threats of violence. Moreover, Budden was not prevented from leaving the studio. In fact, Budden initially left the studio without having signed a release agreement. He then returned to the studio to sign the release agreement after apparently having given the matter more thought. So he was able to leave the studio. That's what they're saying. He went to go think about everything, what the ramifications of that would be, losing his number one client, if not his only, because I don't know who else is on Machine Entertainment. He came back and in good faith signed on it. G Herbo further alleges that Budden and his company have defamed him by sharing these false accusations with influential figures in the music industry and want $20 million for trying to ruin his reputation. Despite the release agreement's clear terms, Budden and Machine continue to exploit G Herbo's music, collecting royalties and payments without any legal right, leading G Herbo to seek legal redress, hoping to enforce the release agreement and reclaim his intellectual property, in addition to receiving another $20 million for the alleged breaches of fiduciary duty. Okay, so when you breach contract, there's also consequences that come with that. G Herbo in a statement says, "Young artists, you got to stand your ground, man. I'm blessed to be able to do this here. I mean, I have the resources to be able to still provide for myself, my family, go to war in this way, the right way, the legal way." And this is just another example of how things can go left very easily and very quickly in the music business. Everything was all good until he displayed a desire to leave, to be his own person. They had been watching over him, managing him since he was an adolescent, 15 years old. I remember watching G Herbo's video. He said when they entered into the agreement, Mr. JB always told him, at any moment, if you want to leave, I will not hold you up, right? And of course, it's hard to engage in a verbal agreement. It's hard to enforce that in a court of law. But at 15 years old, your word is everything, especially when you come from the streets of Chicago. Your word is indicative of who you are as a person. If you violate that, there's a lot of consequences that could put your life in jeopardy. Those are the type of principles that a lot of people in hip hop and in urban music are going off of, because as Black people, we really value verbal agreements. It's very important to uphold them because it could cost you a lot. Whether that's a beat down, it could cost you your life. It could cost somebody in your family harm. So coming into the music industry, coming into the music business, that's a very large distinction that sometimes people have a hard time separating and distinguishing. G Herbo's not the richest rapper, but they say he owes $8.4 million. They haven't even displayed what that $8.4 million is for. And that would be on top of the money that they've already received off of his royalties, off of everything that he does. I'm sure that they get a cut as management and label. This is another thing that happens a lot, is these young artists get signed to management companies that also double as labels, because managers typically don't own copyrights. Managers typically don't have access to your masters. Managers typically don't have access to your publishing either, right? They teach you how to set these things up. They teach you how to manage them yourself, or they help manage it for you, but they don't actually have any of them in their possession or in their name. In this case, he's asking them to return all legal rights to his copyrights back to him. So they've been double dipping on the 20% side, right? Because that's the standard management fee. And they've also been receiving royalties off of his music, off of everything that he's put out. Big songs with Young Thug, Drake, his own hits, touring, going on concerts. G Herbo, he's famous enough, he probably gets anywhere between 50 to 60,000 a show, if not more. They're getting a cut off of that. I don't know if G Herbo has any endorsements, but if he did, they would get cuts off of that. Not to mention they're essentially cashing in on his name, image, and likeness as well, which is a whole other thing, right? Trademark and all of this stuff. Who registered that for him? Did he do it himself? Probably not. So there's a lot of intricacies that could go into this, man. And I just want all the young artists out there to understand, if you don't have a manager right now, and I know you're probably looking for one, you might be in a very blessed position. You can't just work with anyone. I've had my own bouts with management that led me to becoming my own manager. I do have some times where I feel like I need somebody else, but I also have days where I'm extremely thankful that I'm the one controlling it, because I just don't want to have some of these issues that others do. I had a previous manager that actually wanted performance royalties off of some of the music, right? He also wanted to get master royalties off of some of the music, right? And it was all good because we didn't think nothing of it. He was also doubling down as a graphic designer because that was actually his real profession. And he was utilizing the graphic design element as a way to say, I'm providing value for your music, therefore I should get paid off of the music because I'm foregoing what I would normally charge other people for this graphic design, right? At this moment, when I look back on it, it sounds crazy, it sounds stupid, it sounds ridiculous. But when you're out here searching and you're looking to partner up with somebody and this person knows about the music business, they know a few things that perhaps you don't, or they know a little bit more about things that you have a surface level understanding of, right? They could kind of talk you into a situation where it's like, yeah, I think that'd be good, or I don't see the harm in that. We could try that. Motherfuckers got you, man. I had to get legal assistance to get out of that situation. It was fairly easy, because he didn't have everything good on his part. He tried to enforce a breach of contract on me for some faulty accusations and whatnot. But these are just things to look out for, right? All managers aren't bad. All labels aren't bad. Everybody's not out to get you. But anytime there's money on the line and you're somebody where you're bringing value to the table just by having talent, right? By having connections to people, by being influential in the way that you speak, the way you walk, talk, that's what artists are here for. We are the faces of the music industry. And when people see that in you, they essentially see a dollar sign. They may not look at you as a dollar sign, but they're not typically working with you from the good of their heart just because they want to see you win. And when you do meet those people that are like that, you got to hold on to them dearly. Let me know what y'all think of this situation down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If it's your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify or any other podcast platform, I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, Pen Game Elite Podcast, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Much love and respect, y'all. Peace.